Welcome to We Digress with Joy and Jess. Join hosts and longtime friends Joy Simpson and Jess Perry as they tackle the stuff of life the only way they know how, with honesty, faith, and humor. This is We Digress with Joy and Jess.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Season 3 of We Digress with Joy and Jess. I am Jess.
That would make me Joy.
It would. We're back, y'all.
We're back.
Only
I
took
know
5
you
months.
thought, I know we thought you probably, what am I saying? It's early. I know you all thought we weren't coming back. Oh, but we are back better than ever, kind of, sort of, in some various ways. You know, we're both a little older. Well, that happened before the break. So, yeah, you knew that. She had a birthday. I had a birthday. And then we said, we're old. We're going to take a break.
You know what? 2021 was jam-packed. And 2022 has not really let up all that much either. 2022 has been a minute.
It's been pretty busy. And like a crazy person, I've decided to add something else to my plate. I don't know why I did that, but yeah, I'm going back to choir like a crazy person. Well, here's the thing. So most of you guys know, if you've been listening for the last few seasons, I've been a part of a classical group called J&S Singers, the Joanna Medawar National Singers. And it's a professional classical and group that do classical music, spirituals, all these things, right? So a couple years back, I took a sabbatical. I needed to get my mental health together and my physical health together. I was struggling. Some of you also know I had a fall a few years ago and I have a jacked up knee because of it. And like a crazy person, I traveled, to Europe with a messed up knee. And I basically never sat down. I never, other than like the time they told me to not go to work, but I was still like going to rehearsals and doing all this stuff. Anyway, long story short, got to the point where I kind of was like, I gotta leave. It wasn't good for anybody. Choir, myself, my conductor, like she and I were even like starting to get into it, which is like never happened. So I took a sabbatical. Then I was going to go back, and then the pandemic hit, and I was like, well, that's Jesus telling me to sit my butt down still. So I didn't go back. And then I was going to go back for this last concert that they did in April, which I believe was Mozart. And I was grieving. I couldn't really, it just really wasn't a good time yet. And even the concert before that was the December concert, but it was like my birthday and the book. And so like, it just never really worked out. Now, the crazy, funny, cliche part is I'm back for the gospel concert of the season, because we do one big gospel concert every year. That's kind of cliche and it's really funny, but I'm gonna not like go too deep into it. But let's just like, hello, like the Black girls coming back for like the gospel concert, like that's kind of how it feels. And not to mention, she makes an announcement on like our group like Facebook page, like not only am I coming back, like 5 other Black people that haven't been singing for the last like 2 years.
A little on the nose. I mean,
are also coming back, and I'm like, these
gosh.
people are going to be mad at us. Like, oh, now y'all want to come back? Okay. Like, so Rodney, I don't know if I've talked about Rodney on the show. Rodney's one of my friends. He is absolutely nutty. I would have him on the show, not because he does anything special. He's just crazy.
Yeah.
Like, he's that guy, right? So he texted me the other day. He was like, hey, so what do you think about, what can you do with Break Every Chain by Tasha Cobbs? I said nothing. And my response was literally nothing. He was like, what, Joy? Like, nothing. He was like, I said, I am trying to ease my way back in. I am not trying to come in and like, I'm going to do all the solos and no, like, I'm not doing that. This fool gonna say, Joy, the superstars can't come back and be like, oh, I'm going to ease in. You got to come back swinging. I said, and that's exactly why I'm easing in. I don't want nobody to feel no kind of way. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm not saying that, I'm not even saying that I'm amazing of any sort. I'm just saying, I don't want people, I've been gone for what, 2.5, almost 3.
Right.
Almost
You want to
years.
earn your spot back, essentially.
I kind of just want to earn my spot back. So, I mean, I suggested some songs that I thought would sound good for the choir. And I put in the note to my conductor and to him, these are for the choir, not for me to lead. Like, I am I'm
You put in some bangers
specifically
too.
now. If I get to conduct one, I would be cool with that. I don't need to be because he's like, well, what song are you gonna do? None. Joy, you have to pick a song. I really don't like. I don't have to. So that rehearsal's this coming Monday. So pray my strength, y'all, because well, by the time this airs, it'll be like a couple weeks after, but still pray. Uh,
It'll be
in the
ongoing.
in
It'll
the
be
concert is
retroactive
like
prayer.
the week after my kids' show at
Oh
work.
gosh.
So I'm still doing that. So I was kind of like, okay, God, like Jessica tell you the last couple seasons, I was just like, no, can't go back. I'm not ready.
Mhm.
This one, I was like, all right, like she's really like asking me to come back. And I'm just like, okay, things have kind of calmed down. I've kind of gotten into a rhythm. I am still busy, but
Well, and I think that's a big part of it. Like I think for better or for worse, we're now 2 years into 2 weeks to flatten the curve. And we've kind of come to an equilibrium about certain things. And even though there's been so much upheaval and there continues to be so much upheaval in the
right,
world, thanks Russia, like there's
right,
just it's I think we're getting to a point, and interesting, I had a meeting this morning that was very interesting with our builder, and that's a whole hot mess. But even in the meeting, we were just talking about like things are slowly finding
its way back.
a place where we can move forward from them. It's not.
Yes,
It's still
it's a
anarchy and
crawl.
chaos.
Right. It's a
But
crawl. It's not like it's not a
yeah,
speed walk. It's not even a regular walk yet. Like
no.
it's a crawl.
But
And
there's
yeah,
progress. We can see some
but there
progress.
is
We can see some
progress.
stuff on the horizon. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, a little bit here and there. So I think it's, if, and also I think even though it's one more thing to add to your plate, I think the mental health
Yeah.
benefit of it will be really
Yeah.
good.
I did consider that. Like that was a thought that happened and I was like, I do
Yeah.
miss singing. I haven't really sung. I'm not really doing
You
praise
need
and
the
worship
outlet.
right now. So I'm like, I need to maybe be around people other than, my family and, you know, my special students that, you know, the small
You
humans
love them
who
dearly
yeah, I do.
from a distance.
Whew. Yeah, it was funny. Like right before spring break, I posted this on my Facebook and my Instagram. I was like, right before spring break. Spring break was only a week, but honey, you would think I was gonna be on vacation. Remember that Bill Cosby episode back in the day? I know we don't like Bill Cosby anymore, but whatever. The show was great. Um,
Still a classic.
whatever. He was on vacation, but he actually couldn't go out of town. He like made a island in his living room. He had like a ukulele and like a big old orange soda and a hoagie. Like that's how I felt. Like I didn't care that I wasn't going anywhere. I just needed a break from the children and my work
Hallelujah.
and my staff and all of that. And the kids were like, Miss Joy, what are you gonna do for spring break? Oh, I'm just gonna relax, blah 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 blah. And I was like, yeah, because I totally don't need a break from you all at all. They're like, you're capping, Miss Joy. We know you need a break from us. I do. I am definitely capping, aka lying. For those of you who are over 39 that don't know what that means. So they basically called me a liar, and they were right. I definitely needed a break from them. So this will be, I get to be with adult humans for a little while, because Jessica's in Georgia, I'm here. And even if she was here, we still have such crazy lives. Like, this is what we do. We talk every day, yes, but, podcast is literally like us just talking to each other and then we're telling you guys, like, what it's about. Getting into our inner circle. I'm just kidding.
Right? Oh gosh. Yeah, I've noticed, like, for me too. I was able to join the worship team we found a church.
Yes,
Joined
they
the
finally
worship
found
team.
a church.
Yeah, so we've been getting plugged in, and it's good. Like I think it's been really helpful because, again, same thing. It's like now we have people that we know, and like we actually had an incident 2 nights ago where John ran into a coworker because John got a new
Oh,
job. So that's
nice.
new. John got a new job here in Georgia. He ran into a coworker at a restaurant. So it's like we're starting to build the community, which is
Build
super
community,
helpful.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I realized I started playing with the worship team at the church the first week in April. And it was the first time I had picked up a guitar since October. And it was the first time that I had sung in public since October, aside from my audition, which was like the end of February or end of March. So like, but other than that, like I hadn't really sung or played an instrument or anything in months. And that one time in October was literally a one-time thing. And before that, it had been months and months, 10 months or so.
Right.
So, I wasn't teaching anymore, like all this kind of stuff. So it was like, I realized I had no outlet, and it was genuinely impacting my mental health.
Yeah.
And so like, although even Sunday was not a good day musically for your girl.
Yeah. You mentioned that, and I was like, what the heck happened?
So I will say this, when I, as a leader, my leadership style is I don't require my teams to have music memorized. I want them to have their music like known. I want them to know their music, but I don't have a problem, particularly in the age of tablets. I don't have a problem with them having, some backup, some mental backup.
Okay. Yeah.
So for me, the problem is I'm coming into a situation where I don't know any of the songs. Like I'm learning all the songs. And so I'm learning 4 brand new songs each week, and I'm rusty, and they're all in like kind of not cool keys. Like, I don't know who hurt these people, but why are we playing an F sharp?
Oh, why?
There's no need for that. I'm like, why?
They want to be cool. Are they hipsters? I don't know. Because that's what?
I'd be like, who hurt you? Who hurt you that we are playing an F sharp?
Who hurt you?
So so Sunday was a struggle, and it was hard for me because, I work really hard, and I've been spending hours and hours and trying to work on getting these, and it's a lot, learning very specific parts, and I'm having to learn all the music 100%, and this is a team where they already know a fair chunk of these songs, and so they're not having to learn everything every week. So, I'm playing catch up a little bit, and your girl's not getting any younger. My brain ain't as elastic as it used to be. And so,
who knew?
Right?
And who knew it was going to be like
trust
this?
Me, every morning I could tell you I am not as young as I used to be. So that was rough, but I will say that the ability to play and be a part of a band and have that experience and that outlet again has been helpful.
It's been really
because I would say probably the last 4 or 5 months, like my ability to like navigate life on life's terms has kind of degraded. Like I'm not.
Like I don't have.
I've been having some struggles.
Not tenacity. What's the word? You don't have the capacity for some of the things that just naturally start happening in these times.
Right. And it was one of those things where I, in things that have happened, I actually went out and found a counselor and have been seeing a therapist. She's out on maternity leave right now. She's awesome. It's a virtual thing. Found a mental health counselor who has her MDiv and who is a trained LPCC licensed practicing clinical counselor, I think is what it's called.
That's wonderful.
Hey,
so we tell you guys all the time, we believe in a lot of Jesus and a little therapy all at the same time.
Right. Well, and for me, it was important to see a mental health counselor who had an understanding of ministry and who was really dialed in as far as, that aspect, because that is so much a part of my story and so much a part of some of the trauma that I've gone through that I needed someone who had that framework. And so I could not find her in Savannah. She's actually in Atlanta. She's based in Atlanta. So we've been doing everything virtual, but thank God for it because, it's really helpful. So all that to say, you going back in for choir, I think you're going to find that the connections and the camaraderie and, even the drama.
Yeah, right. I was like, it's kind of like there's been some trauma attached to that. And I've let a lot of it go. And I feel like God has delivered me from some of that. It's just, I'm going back as not a different person, but again, more of myself than I've ever been. And so a lot of them don't know her yet because I was me and I was bubbly and I was all those things, but I'm a lot more opinionated, but I know how to. It's not that I wasn't always opinionated. Now I know how to say it without making it like, meow. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
and
Well,
not that I was mean or anything. It's just, I don't know how to explain it, but there's been a lot of who I am personally was a problem as I had been in this process of growing in the last few years. And it wasn't that it was a problem because I grew. It was a problem because they didn't know what was happening.
you were
Was
having growing
I was
pains.
I was having, yeah, and I was going through that whole cocoon butterfly thing, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And so I do have some like pauses about going back, not necessarily because of the music part. It's the people, and not that I tell people all the time is we don't need to care about what people think about us, and it's not that it's not a don't care or I care. It is just, it's a source of a traumatic situation that
Mhm.
had occurred. And so, though most of those people have had come to Jesus meetings with me at some point, a few of them, one of the main people, but I still kind of have like an arm's length attitude. And so that's going to be me relaxing and being comfortable, because at the end of the day, not only do I teach people, I am constantly telling myself, be you at all times and deal with it and don't worry about people, and the whole confidence thing. And it's all of that. I'm going to do all of that. I'm going to be the all that. It's just not being in the presence of all of them at once. It's going to be like, because when we had Jill's memorial service, um, one of them actually, came to be supportive, because Tramika couldn't be there. And, so myself and the other young lady that's in Esther, or wasn't, I don't really know what Esther's, I don't know. Anyway, that's
That's a whole other ball of
it's a
wax.
whole other ball of wax. Yeah. Anyway, we were together, but I looked up and there was a couple people who were there just to be supportive of me. I mean, yes, she did know Jill as well, and she was like, but I just wanted to make sure you were cool. And that was not a relationship we had in a while, because again, that was the one of the people who was like the main source of the tension. So I was just like, oh, like, so yeah, it's gonna be interesting. We'll see how Monday goes.
You know what? I think it's going to be really good because you've been going through a season of growth, and God was birthing something in you that you have now since birthed out into the world. I mean, your
Mhm.
book's been out, you've been promoting it at book fairs and all this kind of stuff,
Yeah, it's
and
kind of crazy.
it's been nuts.
It's
But
kind of
like,
crazy.
but you've been growing in a season, and
Mhm.
there was a lot of stuff that was going on in your life, but that's
All
also
while
something.
trying to produce.
Right. But that's also
Yeah.
something that hopefully and theoretically is happening in their lives too. Like,
Yeah.
none of you
Yeah.
are entering this season
The
of the
same.
of the choir the
Yeah.
way that you were the last time around.
Right.
Everybody is a
Right.
different person,
Yeah.
and that can be a good thing. It could
Right.
be
Like
a not as good thing.
the
But I
grace of
have every
change.
confidence, based on some of the stuff that you've said, where you are, where they are. You're going to have to relearn the relationships a little bit
Yeah.
and reestablish the right boundaries and learn what those
Mm-hmm.
boundaries are. But
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be a really good thing, I think, for you
Yeah.
ultimately.
Yeah.
Getting there might be there'll be hiccups along the way, but it's,
Yeah.
I don't, you should be
It's
okay.
also the balance of when to talk, when not to talk, because that's something like you know, I know I come off super opinionated and know-it-all-y, and I don't try to. I just see things and I say, oh, I think it can go this way. And then when my suggestions aren't taken, because it used to be, I felt like it was considered I had a lack of skill than other people, like other people were more skilled than I was. So that was the reason it wasn't. So at the end of the day, now I'm just like, whatever the reason is, if you don't take the suggestion, you don't take the suggestion. I shouldn't feel butthurt about it. Like that's
Yeah.
like a growth move for me. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah,
I think, like you
absolutely.
said, a lot of people have learned, including my conductor. Like, I feel like she's had some growth as well. Like, it's never too late, So we'll see. This is the update episode. I'm just filling in. That's gonna be, So and like Jess said, I've been trying to like promote the book, and the book fair was cool. Like, I'm meeting new people, and it's funny. I had you have the angel and the devil on your shoulder sometimes,
Yeah.
in those shows and stuff. They're always talking about like right. So I'm at the book
How was
fair
that again?
and you know. Welcome back, guys. Um, I was at the book fair and I wasn't like overly like Jesus, Jesus. You know what I'm saying? Because like it wasn't like all the books were. There were some
That
Christian
kind of book
writers and
fair.
there were some things like that. But so when people came to the booth talking about the book, it was kind of like I was trying to discern the person. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to scare some people off, but then you also want to reach the people who are believers. And so
Right.
because you don't really know, and I had, of course, the devil part on the shoulder is like, you're ashamed of God because you're not talking about him, ha ha ha. And I was like, dang, like I haven't said like Jesus a lot today, but I mean, it's clearly on the back of the book because a lot of people would pick up the book and read the back. So I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
clearly, like obviously. But I realized it was a discernment situation. Some people needed to hear the motivational side of it, and some people that I talked to needed to hear the motivation and Jesus side. And so like you have to kind of like pay attention to the people coming to talk to you. So that was a learning experience, and that was like really different, but it was really cool. Shout out to my aunt Sharon Judy, who is also an author and a playwright, and she's the one who told me about this book fair. Come to find out, USC also had a book fair that was 2 days going on at the same weekend. So I'm learning about this whole like life of books that I did not know about. One of the ladies that was at the book fair, she has a children's bookstore, but she has a friend who has a black owned bookstore in the mall near me that we go to all the time, and I've like never even been in there. And so I went to their website and they have a submission like thing. So I'm gonna send out. You have to send them one of your books, and then they buy it like wholesale from you. If it's like if they decide that it's going to go in a store. So they read the book or whatever first, and then you send them all your information. And there's actually, because tomorrow is today, Friday is. So tomorrow that bookstore is having a big event. It's called Independent Bookstore Day. Tomorrow is National Independent Bookstore Day. And so they're having an event with Terry Crews and some other people. And so I'm gonna go by and I'm gonna introduce myself, and because there's gonna be some other independent art authors there and things like that. So just figuring it out and going from there. It's kind of crazy, but and then my dad wants to do a book signing in Arizona, so we'll figure that out. I don't know when that's happening. Speaking of my dad, this is a story I hadn't told you yet. I talk a lot, sorry. So Sunday, I didn't go to church in person. I went virtually. So I'm not gonna lie, I really didn't want to hear my pastor this week. Like, I just wasn't in the mood, so I was gonna go somewhere else virtually. And not Pastor Michael Todd, but there's another pastor who's a gospel artist. His name is Pastor Mike Jr., aka Pastor Mike McClure. He was actually preaching at Transformation Church, and I saw that on his Instagram. So I was going to his. I wanted to hear him preach because he's really good, very relatable. Check him out, Pastor Mike Jr. He pastors out of Alabama. And he has one of his songs. It's called "Big." It's amazing. It's talking about God is big and all the things that we're small. He's big, but he still wraps us in his big arms. Great song. And so he was preaching, and I happened to pause it for a second because I was like, oh, I saw my dad on Facebook, and he was preaching because he co-pastors with my aunt now in Arizona. That's a whole thing to update. My dad's pastoring again. Anyway. Because that happened. My dad retired from teaching, now he's back teaching, and then he retired from pastoring, and now he's pastoring. And I'm like, huh, what? Okay, whatever.
Play it back in.
So, yeah, which is funny because his students watch our show, by the way, so he's going to see this. So, hey, y'all.
Shout out.
Anyway, so he's preaching, right? And I pause my other church service, and I'm watching on the phone, and all of a sudden I see my dad kind of get like lightheaded and dizzy. and he has to stop in the middle of his sermon and walk down off the pulpit, and he's sitting down. Now, mind you, I'm in LA. He's in Arizona. I'm freaking out. Like, what the heck? I'm calling my stepmom. She's not answering the phone. We'll come to find out she wasn't at church that day because she was at my stepsister's house because my brother-in-law's mom passed. So she was dealing with that. My dad was at church. My aunt, who's the co-pastor, starts, praying for him. This is all still live on Facebook, by the way. Like, I'm like trying to figure out what to do. I like tell my mom. She's like, he needs to go to the doctor, and I'm like, I know. Like my dad, he doesn't. I've never seen this before. You know what I'm saying? So he looks like he's about to pass out. He's hot. They take his jacket off. He's doing all this stuff. Girl, why 5 minutes later this man get back up to finish his sermon? No. No, of course. Yes, the devil, the whole thing, like, devil, you're not going to win. All this. Like, yeah, no, Satan, you're not going to win. He is whole. He is healthy. Amen. Praise the Lord. Why? But you got back up to preach. Yeah, okay. So he finishes the sermon. I'm like, oh, Jesus of Nazareth. Okay. Then I call the man. He's not answering the phone. He finally calls me back. I'm like, Daddy, are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. No, you're not. What happened? Oh, I think I just was dehydrated. Okay. First of all, not good when you're about to preach. Why haven't you had liquid? Like water? No. So I'm like, you need to go to the doctor. I don't need to go to the doctor. For what? Because you almost passed out preaching, sir. Like, that's why. Like, I literally watched it. Oh, you did? Yes, I did. How do you think I know? So I called my sister. I'm like, your father almost passed out. And she's like, what? And I was like, yeah, I'm trying to get him to go to the doctor. She's like, she and him are very similar. They're like, okay, well, it'll be fine. That's them. Me, I'm like, yeah, no. And she's like, oh, well, hopefully he goes. That's my sister, right? Love her to death. But I'm panicking, maybe because I'm the big sister. I'm the oldest. I don't know. I'm like, okay. And I can't get to Phoenix, like, right now. I tell the man to go to the doctor. He's like, okay. So I call him in a couple hours. I'm like, did you go to the doctor? No. Why? Because it's Sunday, Joy. Okay, there's doctors. I don't need to go to the ER for this. It's just a little dehydration or exhaustion or whatever he was trying to say it was. And I'm like, we don't know that that's what it was. You need to go to like urgent care or something if you don't want to go to ER. Like, I get it. He's like, I don't need to do all of that. And I was like, well, where's Carol? My stepmom. She came by. She went back to Danielle's house. I was like, okay, well, you need to go make an appointment at least. I call him the next day. Yeah, my appointment's May 9th. May 9th? You passed out yesterday. May 9th is after Mother's Day. Like that's a whole nother week. Well, Joy, that's what they had. I'm like, so he's not going to the doctor till May 9th. Mind you, my dad doesn't like the doctor. And honestly, like, who really just like, I'm going to the doctor? Like, nobody does that, right? But I'm concerned because he doesn't like going to the doctor, that there's some underlying situation happening. Now, of course, I'm praying and I believe God that he's okay. But I'm like, dude, like, can you please go get checked out? Like, please? So, yeah, that happened. I hadn't told you. I wanted to. Gotta love our parents, right?
Yeah. My dad. What is it with our dads? Like,
girl, I don't know. That's why I thought you would really be like, because you have stuff going on medically with your dad too. So I was like, wait till I'll tell just this.
I hope it is something as simple as his blood sugar got low and he just like needed a snack.
Right.
That's what I'm hoping.
That's what I'm hoping. But if it's not that, I'd rather him know. You know what I mean? So we know. So even if I don't do the book signing in Arizona, which he of course wants me to, I need to go check on him because obviously I don't trust him or my stepmom at this point.
Why are these grown adults like? Why are we having to step up and like I swear, I'm ready to go to every doctor's appointment with my parents at this
as we
point
get
because
older, yeah, like my mom, I don't have to worry about that. Like she writes down stuff to tell her doctor, you know what I'm saying? But my dad, like, I don't like the doctor. I've been going to doctors my whole life. I've been sick since I was like 15. Like,
right.
like come on. But at least no. And I admit there was a phase in my life, and I wrote this in the book, like I didn't want to go to the doctor anymore because I was tired of hearing things were wrong with me. Like,
Oh yeah.
I don't want to know, so I'm not going to go. And I feel that that's what he's doing. Like, I don't want to know, so I'm not going to go. And because my grandmother had significant health issues, it's a concern. You know what I'm saying? Like, my thing is, and I'll say this to you people out there listening or watching, know your family history. If you don't know, try and find it, because I didn't know until my grandmother passed that she also had fibromyalgia.
Oh, interesting.
Right? My aunt told me, and my dad, like after she died, and I was like, what? Like, who knew? Like, I didn't even know that. And she had a couple other things that I also have. So I'm like, you got to know. And if you don't know, and your parents aren't the people that want to talk about it, tell them it's important, because you never know. It's for them, it's for you, it's for your future children, your children that you presently have, whatever the case is. And you kind of know how to pray. You know what I'm saying? It's not just about being diagnosed. Please don't think I'm saying that. But you know where to pray, you know how to pray, so that, the generational, because, we hear about generational curses and things like that. Well, generational diseases, things that just are
Mm-hmm.
inherent in our DNA. I mean, God can, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know He can. So if we know where to pray, and we know where the root of things come from, we know how to attack it in the spirit. I mean, that's just how I was raised. So, and if you feel sick and you don't think it's major, still go check. Like, if you're passing out in the middle of sermons,
I'm gonna stop you right there. I feel like passing out is kind of a major thing. Like that's not minor. Like
preach, girl, preach. You preaching to the choir. That's what I said. Honestly, if I could have driven to Arizona, I would have, and take his butt to the urgent care or ER that day, because I was just like, what do you mean you're still at home? Like, what? Like, why? Well, Joy, there's no appointments on Sunday. I wasn't expecting that. Like, I'm aware. I go to doctors a lot. Like,
yeah, like
I have a doctor for everything.
I haven't been to the doctor yet here because insurance has been a whole thing. But now that John has a new job, that's like
fun.
getting resolved. But my parents have been to the doctor quite a bit, and my dad is dealing with. We're still working on getting him that stupid surgery, and so he
Yeah.
finally got clearance
Mm-hmm.
from the workers' comp insurance people to say,
Workers' comp.
we've cleared you. You can have one of the two surgeries that you need, the first of the two surgeries.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes back to his doctor. I'm like, yeah, let's go. And then the cardiologist that he has here, who has either seen him once barely or hasn't seen him at all, I'm not totally sure on that, looked at his records from 10 years ago when he had an AFib episode with his heart and was like, no, I don't clear you for this surgery. You have to have a cardiac ablation surgery before you can do this. Now, mind you, the
What?
other thing like expires in the middle of May, like the authorization for it. So we're like
So
scrambling.
he's going to have to get reauthorized,
So
because this other doctor won't sign off. The cardiologist won't sign off on it until he has the cardiac situation.
yeah, well,
That's
so
annoying.
like the latest thing is that his California cardiologist called and spoke to the doctors here and was like, I give my blessing for this. Like, it's fine. He's fine. Like, it's not a problem. His cardiologist in California, awesome Christian man, like super good guy. We really love him. And so he was really sweet to call out and say, no, he's fine. Like, this is fine. You can go ahead and do the surgery. But that was like yesterday. So we're still waiting for this surgery to be scheduled. I have literally put off, I have to take a furlough. Like, we all have to take a furlough week at the university. And I have to have it completed by May 30th, May 31st.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so I've been putting off scheduling this furlough because I know that I'm going to have to drive my dad into Atlanta, and
for
we're
the
going to
people
have to
out
be
there,
there
let
for
them know
a
how
day or
far
two at
of a drive
least.
from Savannah to Atlanta it is.
It's like 4 hours. It's like LA to Vegas, basically.
It's like driving to Vegas.
Yeah. So like, but it's still, I'm gonna have to drive him into Atlanta. He's gonna have to have this procedure. I don't know if we're gonna have to stay around a couple days for it because it's back surgery. Like, I'm assuming it's outpatient because my father-in-law's back surgery back in the day was outpatient. So like all this stuff, but I'm just sitting there going, why? Please, for the love, all of you people, can you get your act together? Like, this is my life right now. Like, Joy, I tell you, I swear to God, there are pieces of my life that are just kind of up in the air. And if any one of them were to land somewhere, other things would start to fall into place. But like, even us, we want to do this conference. I'm like,
yeah,
we had to postpone the date because I didn't have the date. Well, which would have been this weekend was the original date for the conference, which would have been tomorrow, and we've had to postpone that again because we don't know. And I've got all this other stuff going on, and you've had all this stuff going on, in your personal life. Like, it's all this stuff that's pushing it out. And I'm just trying to have open hands with all of this and go, okay, Lord, I'm trusting you. I'm trusting you.
Yeah.
Can you throw me a bone somewhere? And
like,
now,
please, Jesus.
Well, and now we're talking September, right? I think that's the date that we set for the next one.
We said September 24th. Yeah.
Okay. So now they're telling me today, I had this meeting with our builder, and now they're telling me today that we could close maybe in best case is September, worst case is October. And I'm like, watch. We're going to close on our house on September 22nd. Like, I'm just like,
like the day I'm planning to get there.
I'm like, just stab me in the eye. Like, can we just stab me in the eye right now? Like,
It's funny. And guys, not only does she have all this stuff going on, but then she has me, who's constantly like, okay, so we need to do X, Y, Z, ABC, and
which is great because
chocolate through strawberry. So
I could go for some. We have chocolate and strawberry ice cream in our freezer right now.
Sound good.
Tillamook strawberry ice cream. Don't sleep on it. It's good.
I actually enjoy Tillamook in general. You know what I'm saying? Like, Tillamook has some pretty smooth ice cream, maybe because they're a dairy town, you know what I mean? But the ice cream's good. I don't know nothing about their cheese because I don't eat that stuff. But the ice cream
the cheese
quite
is good.
delicious.
Yeah, the ice cream.
Yeah, my mom uses their cheese in the mac and cheese. I don't.
Ooh. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
anyway.
yeah. Life has just been...
Life happens, these are the updates. The updates of our lives.
Like sands through the hourglass. So
these are the days of our lives. And also, if you're over the age of 25, have no idea. I mean, under 25, you have no clue what we're talking about. Soap operas were things before reality TV.
They were, I was going to say, they were scripted where reality is scripted. So,
yeah. It's amazing how scripted some of these reality shows are, and I'm not a big fan of reality shows. Although I heard that I'm waiting for the Chrisleys to come back because I just think they're funny. There's something wrong with that family, and it is hilarious to watch. Not that any of their life is my business. It's just funny. Like, I'm not watching for drama and cat fights and things like that, or like some of these other shows.
No Real Housewives.
I couldn't even get through this season of Married at First Sight, and I love Married at First Sight. Will I ever do that show? Absolutely not. But
thank you. I would come out there and physically restrain you.
Yeah, no. Like, I honestly don't think that I could do the Married at First Sight thing. Like, it works for some people. There have been some very successful situations. But this season was, like, extremely toxic. I got through the first 5 episodes, and I was like, I just can't anymore. Like, to the point because I wanted to go through the TV and, like, slap a dude because of how he was talking to his wife and his, like, outdated idea of... It wasn't even just the outdated idea of marriage. He was just like, he was terrible. I don't even know the words. Like, it was just bad.
Your face. It was.
If you're not watching on YouTube and you're listening on Spotify, I have a face of like, I tasted the nastiest, like,
it was stank face, man.
Piece of pie that can be made. I don't know. Like, or eating like the Kraft macaroni and cheese like ice cream that's out. That's what my face was like. Because why? Anyway,
No, thank you. You
so
know what?
I don't really do the reality shows like that, but the Grizzlies, they make me laugh. And the grandmother, she's like a southern drunk lady, and it is just funny. I'm sorry. Like
Let's start
she
watching.
she's the only one that talks to her son and be like, "You're an idiot." Like she although she's but and she can't talk. Like she have you ever watched Friends and it's the episode where Phoebe is trying to teach Joey how to speak French?
Yes. And she does
And
the
she's like,
word. It's the meme. It's a meme.
yes, and she's like saying the words in French correctly, and he's like, cockle bleu, like, and it's like nothing. That's just how the grandmother talks in general. Like, she says nothing correctly. Like, it's hilarious. Anyway, yeah, I was watching Married at First Sight, and that was something like Brandy and I were watching. Brandy's my friend that lives in Washington. For those of
We
you
love
that
you,
hear me talk
Brandy.
about her, we love you, Brandy. And I texted her one day. I was like, "Oh my god, they're toxic. I can't. Like, I can't even watch the rest of the season." After like, that's bad. Episode 5, I was done. There was a divorce in the first 3 weeks of the show.
I
Literally,
mean,
that's how bad it was. They usually
all of
wait
my
8
work
weeks for
team,
that.
all of my work team, we have 2 chats at work that are like the entire team or almost the entire team. One is serious business, and it is serious work related things that we need to discuss. The other is not so serious business. And it's mostly GIFs, whatever you want to call it, and discussions about Married at First Sight, like all of their streaming, like whatever shows everybody is streaming. I don't even know half of these shows. I'm like, what the what? Like, because I don't watch stuff like that, and I'm just like, what even are you guys on? Like, fun fact. So, like, we're recording this on Friday. I'm off on Fridays, but my Microsoft Teams like runs in the background. So while we are recording, I am looking in the corner because it keeps popping up because I can't make it go away. And it's literally just an entire chat that's happening right now about what they're going to binge watch this weekend.
That is hilarious.
Oh, and also apparently my coworker's office is really hot and the AC is not working. So there's an operations thing too. It's like, but it's like, fun. I am cracking up like at all the stuff that they're putting through. They're like, oh, I watched this and this happened in season 2. And they're watching like Euphoria and all this stuff. And I'm like,
yeah, I was reading this thing like, if you're a Christian, you shouldn't watch Euphoria. And I was like, I don't know what that show's about, but obviously it's pissing Christians off.
Like, it's got Zendaya in it. That's about all I know.
And I like Zendaya, but I've seen like commercials. I know there's lots of drugs going on, and there's like the alphabet community going on, I think, somehow in there. And yeah, I don't watch that one. I watch
YouTube videos.
One of my 4th graders asked me if I watch Euphoria, and I'm like,
kids,
no,
parents, stop letting your kids watch stuff, man.
Though? Yeah, I watched it with my big sister. I don't think you should watch that.
I used to not be, okay, here's a flashback for you. I was not allowed to watch the Smurfs or David the Gnome because there were elves involved.
That sounds like a Karen thing.
Yeah.
Her mom's name is Karen. I'm not calling her a Karen.
No, she's legit. I have a t-shirt that says Love Like Karen. Shout out to Sunday Cool Tees. Yeah, so I couldn't watch like elves, like David the Gnome or Smurfs. I
didn't watch David the Gnome. I did watch magic. Smurfs. The magic. I get it, but yeah. Well, now there's a thing on TikTok.
Full disclosure, I would sneak and watch David the Gnome. Like,
I don't remember David the Gnome. I remember the name. I don't think I watched it, but I did watch the Smurfs. Well, now there's a thing on TikTok, and I thought this was interesting. There's because I get the most random algorithms. I am okay. The Christian ones, okay, that's and then I get like, I don't know, weird. But this one's a Christian one, and it was like, so I use Honey Pot products. For if you're a man, if you're listening, I'm so sorry. Honey Pot is a African American owned female company that makes products for women and their body parts, mainly downstairs. And so it is a different type, especially if you're dealing with fibroids and things like that. There's the sanitary napkins, which is the best way I could say that, have like herbs and aloe and
Oh,
things like that
really?
in the pad. Right. So I started using them like right before the pandemic, and then the pandemic hit and they were nowhere, not even on their website. Like, so then I started ordering them like in boxes of like 5 because I couldn't like find them. But now they're at Walmart, they're at Target,
Hmm.
I think some Walgreens and things like that. They also have sensitive washes for the downstairs areas. They have a cucumber one that has aloe in it. And then it's all pH balance, and their whole thing is products for the area made by people with the area. You know what I mean? Because a lot of products are not made by women for women.
Yes.
So there is a woman on TikTok who's a believer and was like, Christians shouldn't use honey pot. And I'm like, why? So I look in the comments and somebody was like, yeah, as soon as I saw the back of the bottle, I knew I had to rebuke it and get it out of my house. And I was like, what? So the product has on the back that the creator of the product had a dream where an ancestor of hers, a great grandmother or some sort, came to her in a dream and gave her this recipe for the product. And that the people in the chat and the woman in the video were like, you're allowing spirits into your home by buying this product. And I was like, so I mean, obviously I went to go talk to my mom. She was like, okay, so if the Holy Spirit gave you something, an idea in your dream, and you shared that, would that be demonic? I was like, no. She's like, it was a dream where someone she knew in her life gave her an idea, just like a lot of people. Like, it doesn't say she did like a ritual. She didn't
Yeah.
have dream catchers. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've even seen interviews with this woman about this product. So I was like, Christians, we can be weird. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is why.
Golly, can we just be normal for once? Be cool, guys.
Right. This is why people think that a lot of us are nuts. Because I'm like, if I was a non-believer looking at these comments in the way, and she was like, here are God-approved organic female products, and I was like,
you speaking for God now? Did he give you a revelation? Did it come in a dream? Was it from your ancestor? In which case, canceled.
And ancestor, now there are people in, especially in the Black community right now, like praying to their ancestors and manifesting their own things and all of that. But that's not what this was about. Your ancestor is anybody who was like, if your grandmother came to you in a dream, Jessica, and told you like something, which it happens. Like my grandfather, I've dreamt of him. I've dreamt of Jill since she's been gone. You know what I mean? Like, in her talking to us. And I don't know. I just thought it was too deep. Like sometimes we're too deep.
Did I tell you? You saw the video about the dream I had about my Grammy?
Yes.
Okay, for you guys on the podcast, I gotta tell this story because it is hysterical, and maybe the TikTok lady would think that I have a problem, but I don't know. So I had a dream. This is a couple weeks ago. My dream was that we were in a Catholic chapel having a memorial service for my Grammy. Now, my Grammy, my dad's mom, has been passed. She went home to be with the Lord. Gosh, 2012. So it's been quite a while.
Wow.
I think 2012. I can't. Gosh, I can't keep yours straight. Anyways, she's been gone for a while, and so we had this dream that she's apparently just recently passed. So now we are having a memorial service, and for whatever reason, we are in a Catholic chapel. And it is high. It is a beautiful stone chapel with like medieval windows, like, you know, those really pretty, like kind of parapet window type things. And we are on a mountainside. Now, mind you, my Grammy is not Catholic. Our family is not Catholic. We are Protestant. Like my grandma was Baptist, Southern Baptist, right? So like that's not our vibe. But for whatever reason, we are in this Catholic church.
Okay.
And okay, so here's where it gets weird, and the TikTok lady may have a problem. The walking around the outside of this mountaintop chapel is a 30-foot tall animatronic Jesus
Oh. It's like a Chuck E. Cheese Jesus?
Yeah, but it's more mechanical. It's like kushunk, kushunk. And it's just
Oh.
walking like the exterior of the building. And there's like
Let's
a
see.
little regular sized human person following
Hmm.
around, like keeping an eye on the giant mechanical Jesus. And it's like
His
this
job was
giant mechanical
keeping-
Jesus hand is so big that it completely fills the window. Like it
Oh,
gets to
wow.
2 spots on either side of the room, and it just like sticks its hand in the window and then pulls it back out. And then it just makes this loop. So this is going on outside. Just Jesus puts his hand in like the hokey pokey. Put your hand in, pull it out. So we're in there. My dad is giving the eulogy, and I am at the piano, and the casket is in front of us. Now my grandma was actually cremated. That's a whole other story. She came in the mail one day. It was great. But so she's
What?
Yeah,
You
we
never
donated her
told
body
me
to
that.
science, and when they had taken what they needed for science, they cremated her, and then they put her in the mail, and then she arrived in a brown paper wrapped box. And I called my dad one day, and I was like, "I think Grandma came in the mail today. She's on the kitchen counter when you get home." Like, what are we gonna do? Like, to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord.
Visit
Like,
the Lord.
it's just genetic material. Like, I don't have a problem. My
Yeah,
husband
it's
is
just
freaked out by that story, by the way. Anyway, so
I
we're
could
in
see
this
John
in this
freaking out
dream,
about that.
like I'm at the piano and we're playing and we're singing all this time. And out of the corner of my eye, I see movement in the casket. But you know how sometimes your mind like plays tricks on you, like you think you see movement, but it's not. It's like a fly or your hair or whatever. Well, we're wrapping up the service, and the movement that I have seen in the casket is actually my grandma. She sits up in the casket and she looks around. And the entire congregation's like, oh, 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 as one might expect, because you know. So my dad and I go over to my Grammy, and I'm like, Grammy, are you okay? Where do you think you are? And she looks around and she goes, home. And I went, okay, sure, sounds good. So we help her out of the coffin. And I'm like trying to figure out what to do. And I'm like, you know what the situation needs? Needs a sermon. So I run over to the podium and I start giving a Jesus is the resurrection and the life sermon because we do that. And then I go, oh, we have to have communion. Clearly we have to have communion. So then like I go to like the narthex, like the opening of the thing. And I'm like, trying to find those, like, because we're in the middle of a pandemic, of course, in my dreams. I'm trying to find the individual like communion chalices, and they were very pretty. The ones that I was looking for, I found like one of them in the dream, but it was like a little chalice, like a tiny chalice, Catholic style chalice.
Yeah, the gold.
Yeah, it was very pretty, but it was like tiny, single serving, like a shot glass size. Anyways, and then like I was like, we can't use this because I'm pretty sure the Catholic priest is not going to like that we've used their communion. So I was like going back and forth with the priest trying to have this conversation, and then the alarm went off and I woke up. But I'm pretty sure that the TikTok lady.
Yeah,
the TikTok lady has better breath. But the TikTok lady would not appreciate my
yeah, I mean, okay, Jesus and all of that. It is a deep life. It is a deep connection. It is a lot of things. But sometimes I think we as humans make things deep that don't need to be deep. Like, yeah, I'm sure there are people who would disagree with me, but I'm grateful for her grandmother's recipe because it helps me.
Yeah. And let me be real clear, as someone who works in marketing, there may be some embellishment to that just a little bit. And I'm not saying she is. I don't know her story. I'm not familiar with it. But as a marketer, a good origin story is a real good marketing hook. And Christians just looking for something to be scandalized about. It's like,
we just
slow your roll, y'all.
To be, and then the thing is, we pick at things that we want to judge because that's what we're doing, and then the things that we should cast down or not do, we do or allow. And so how are we picking and choosing? And this is a little deeper than hey, it's our first episode back and we're updating you. But I mean, seriously, like those are the kind of things that turn people off from Christianity and wanting to understand a relationship with God. And sometimes it's just a product is just a product. And like she said, we don't know how much all of that is true. And I think in an interview that I did see her in, it wasn't just the dream. I think she kind of remembered having these conversations with this
Right.
particular ancestor, which just means a family member of her past or whatever, or remember hearing the family talking about this, and in the dream she got the order of the mixture or something. But I've woken up and written down things that I saw in my dream, or prayed about something I saw in a dream, good or bad,
Right.
because it happens. You know what I'm saying? Like the
God speaks to us in dreams.
Like, come
I've
on.
asked him to
And
speak to me in dreams, and that hasn't happened so
I
far.
think the
But
problem that people are having is because she used the word ancestor. I think that if she would have used a different word, that they wouldn't even. But then it's like, here's some God approved, Christian approved organic tampons. Like what? Like
just
again,
that
men, if
statement
you're
alone,
listening,
like,
I'm sorry.
y'all,
I was like, and the comments were going ham. Some people were like, okay, this is dumb. But then this one girl was like, yeah, when I saw the back of the thing and it said her ancestors and da 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 da, I immediately got it out of my house and blah blah. I was like, first of all, this stuff is not cheap, and you just threw that up. No.
My thing is, I liken stuff like that to that passage where it's, meat sacrificed to idols. If someone has a problem with it, if it is a personal issue for them, that they are freaked out by it, then by all means, do what you think is necessary for your walk with the Lord. However, what is true for you in that situation may not be true for everybody, and it puts millstones around people's necks who don't need to have that happen. It's kind of like alcohol. First off, God says if you're going to drink, don't be drunk, right?
Yeah,
but that is a matter of personal. If you are someone who struggles with alcoholism, that is not going to be good for you, and that is not going to be healthy and beneficial. Don't do it. For Christians, if someone else if I know that I'm out with somebody who doesn't approve it or appreciate it, it's not important enough to me that I'm going to sit there and demand my freedom to do it over their comfort on it.
Right.
It's that same sort of
what
thing.
Being a believer is. That is being an understanding person who happens to also love God and know the word. It doesn't change who we are. It doesn't change our relationship with him. It allows us to understand balance, and it allows us to be a good witness in situations where we may not have the same comforts. My mom taught me that from a young kid. There's certain, and it's not that you're being fake, and it's not that you're not being real in front of people, that there are some things you just don't do in front of everybody, and it's because of that reason, if nothing else. So if that situation made you uncomfortable, then understandably great, but you are posting this as if it is the gospel truth, and it is
God
not.
approved tampons. Come on, guys. Like, Jesus does
Honestly,
not promote
I thought
tampons.
I sent that to you. I don't even know if I did. I probably didn't, because I was just like, what?
No. I'm going to go out on a limb. Everybody, I'm going to make a bold theological statement. I don't think God has a preferred tampon brand.
Seriously. I don't really think he cares that.
Now, go out on a limb there.
If she had written on there that she had done some voodoo sacrificial something, then I wouldn't buy the product nor use it. But that's not what it says. And if you go to the history, go to her website, go to her Instagram. It's a honeypot company. It's not like, it was just like, what? I couldn't believe it.
Christians, they will know us by our fruit. They should not know us by what we're against.
Right.
Right? Like, they shouldn't know us by what we hate. They should know us by our love. They will know us by our fruit. I think so much of our time we spend trying to get the world to act like Christians or to act like they know God, when we should be introducing them to God and allowing God to affect the behavior. How can they act as though they are free if they are not walking in freedom?
Right.
Introduce them to the one who can free them, and then allow the behaviors to change after that. We sit there and kind of have this mentality of we've got to we've got to clean up our act, right? You got to clean up your behavior. You got to clean up your act. That's God's job. That's the Holy Spirit's job to convict us to sin and righteousness.
Right.
Our job is to tell people that Jesus loves them, that Jesus died for their sins, and we allow the Holy Spirit to do the convicting. We are the means by which God sends his message out into the world through his word and through his people. But this business about convoluting the message
because of personal preference or personal fears or whatever the case may be, it's like, Cindy, there is no perfect person. There is no way to completely stay unstained in this world until we get to heaven. And it's like sending one of my students out. You know, I have this one little girl every day. She has beautiful long hair. I have constantly fixed ponytails and all these things. And literally every day her dad says, I did not send her to school like this. You know what I'm saying? Like, he did not send her to school that way. She might have a hole in her tights, or, you know, her hair is all over, clothes are disheveled. But
that's called being a kid.
It's called being a kid, right? But every day she goes home, she gets cleaned up, and she does it over again every day. And that's the same thing with our lives. You know what I'm saying? That's the same thing with our lives with Christ. We get dirt on us every single day. We get dirt on us through our mental health challenges. We get dirt on us through the coworker who frustrate us. We get dirt on us when we're having issues with our relationships and our spouses and our families. We get dirt on us when we don't always think the right thing, and God sees our thoughts when we're not thinking something well of someone. We get dirt on us. But the wonderful opportunity, the wonderful thing about God, the wonderful thing about his redemptive power is that every day we have the opportunity to get cleaned up. Not saying there's no way after you take a shower, once you wash your hair, within 12 hours, it is dirty again. It doesn't stay clean all the way until you wash it again. It doesn't automatically guarantee that there's not going to be any oily mess going on or dandruff buildup or any of that. You have to consistently care for it. You have to consistently take care of it. And that is what we are as believers. That is why we get up and we pray every morning, and we pray before we go to bed. And sometimes I forget and I lay down and go, oh my God, Jesus, thank you for this day. I'm going to lay down. Thank you for rest. Amen. Because I forget, you know. But that is the opportunity that he allows us and he affords us through, like I said, his redemptive power. Not for us to just be walking around with perfect tampons and perfect perfection of everything else.
I cannot.
And thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
But it's true. Like,
you know what I'm saying? Like, we're going to get dirt on us.
Yeah.
But that's what his cleansing power is for. Every day. The renewing of our minds every day.
And it's in this season, I have, you know, and I talked earlier about just the challenges that I've been going through personally, and kind of the struggle that I've been having as far as my own mental health and my own, just this sense of where I am in this season of my life, and the difficulties that I have been having, and genuinely wrestling with the goodness of God. And I keep going back to God and I go, Lord, know that I'm trying. I'm trying my best to be and to live out this faith that you have called me to. I don't understand it. I don't know that, this is ultimately the right plan, but I'm trying to do the thing that you have called me to, and to live out my faith and to work out my salvation with fear and trembling. And sometimes that looks like I am gripping by my fingernails to hold on to the things that I know that are true. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. You know, years and years ago, I was at a Women of Faith conference, and Marilyn Meberg said this. She said, I think she was referencing when her husband passed away. And I think that's what it was. It's been a lot of years. I mean, it's probably been almost 20 years. And she said this, she goes, when I don't know what the future holds, or when I am doubting that God will do what he has said he would do, I look back on his word and I go back to what I know is true. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And she just started going throughout scripture and repeating that. And that has stuck with me for 20 years because that's the season that I find myself in right now, where I have to cling to the knowledge of who God is and the knowledge of what he has done, because I can't see what he is doing or what he will do.
Right.
And that's tough. That's a tough season to find myself in.
Yeah.
When I cannot see, what's that old song? When you don't understand, when you can't trace his hand, touch his heart, trust his heart.
I don't know why that just felt like a really country moment, but yeah, that's true.
It kind of, I mean, to be fair, most of the 80s and early 90s Christian CCM was a little bit country.
It was a little bit country. You're right.
Right. But the thing, going back to that. But the
words are absolutely
right.
Correct.
But to go back to what we were talking about, we have this idea that we have to get everything exactly right. And I think particularly for me, coming out of a season where I've not been in vocational ministry and having to relearn what that looks like to live out my faith in a different capacity.
Right.
Is understanding that it's not going to be perfect, that it is going to be very broken at times. And that's okay. Not that we should strive for that brokenness, but that we understand that in our weakness, we are made strong. That when we can't, he can. That when I just get to a place where I am done, God's grace, the redemptive power of the blood that Jesus shed on the cross, it covers my lack and it covers my inability. So thankfully, positionally, God sees me as clean and as pure, my transgressions are forgiven. Relationally, we're struggling through. But I know that it's like other relationships. When I struggle through with God, we are going to come out on the other side. I genuinely believe that we will come out on the other side. And this season has not been a crisis of faith so much. I wouldn't categorize it as that. It has been a journey, a struggle, a
adventure
of discerning the character of God and how he sees me and how he relates to me and how I relate to him. Right. So then to have somebody come over and say, well, I'm sorry, but you're not using the holiest tampon. It puts, when stuff like Christians do stuff like that, it puts it puts millstones around necks. And Jesus had real strong things to say about the Pharisees for putting these unreasonable burdens on them. It's like, guys, that's not what this is supposed to be about.
Yeah, it's adding things to the cross that are unnecessary.
Technical difficulties.
We'll end with this. I have a student who's in kindergarten, and he doesn't like noise. He, I think, has some issues that I'm encouraging mom to check out. So every day during snack time, I'm usually in the auditorium for the kids that need to go to the bathroom. So I sit there. So he comes and eats snack in the auditorium with me. And every day, he's just spinning around, eating shredded cheese and pepperoni, because that's what he loves to eat every day. And he's just spinning around doing things. And everybody's like, Miss Joy, why is he always in here? Why is he always with you? I'm like, he doesn't like the noise. And so my mom's like, maybe you're like a mother figure to him. I look nothing like his mother, by the way. Though we are both African American, we look nothing alike. But the same student, every day when he's in my class, he shouts out, Miss Joy, I gotta go poop. Every day. No matter what's happening, no matter what I'm doing, no matter what lesson we're on, no matter what song we're singing, if he has to go, he has to go. And he yells out, Miss Joy, I gotta go poop every day. So I said that to say, don't hold things in, let it out, go when you gotta go. And and I meant emotionally. Don't hold things in. Let it out when you need to, because you don't want to have issues later on in life. And that's episode 1, season 3. We digress with Joy and Jess. We hope we see you next time. Bye.
Thanks for listening. Check us out on the web at joyandjess.com. That's JOIANDJESS.com. We'll see you next week.